are listening to Good to Great Life Coaching Podcast with Jill Farron. And this is where we take your real life struggles and issues and we create results with tools you will use forever. And here we go. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the From Good to Great Life Coaching Podcast with Jill Farron. And I'm Jill. This is the very first podcast I've ever done, and I was going to use the first podcast solely for the purpose of getting to know me and give you my story and background and all the things. But what I decided to do was weave that in and give you something that you came here for, to have a lesson that could make a difference in your day right away. So From Good to Great Life Coaching is my company. And this podcast is a gift and an invitation as well for you to create something better for yourself, something powerful for yourself in your life. And let me preface all of this by saying that this podcast and my coaching practice was born from my own personal journey. I know we all have a journey. Mine led me here, and it's really so funny how sometimes this world hits you with things that you really don't expect, and sometimes something incredible comes right out of left field when you least expect it. And honestly, I did not expect to be doing this in my life at this time. I come from a corporate world, a very corporate world, and I've created coaching for all of you from my experiences. I've decided to do this podcast because I have so much to teach and so much I have worked on and practiced and changed in my own life. It's almost like it did a 360. I also really wanted to give you a chance to get to know me before you ever sign up for a training or a coaching session with me. And I hope that these podcasts will do that for you. I hope you'll see. I was in the dark and hopeless, in a hopeless place when I kind of haphazardly started to look at helping myself. And through this messy process, I changed my whole life. I became more empowered than I ever have before, and clarity showed up. And that's when I started to do the work and practice. There's always a choice. I never thought that before, but now I've experienced it, and there's always a choice. I like to look at our lives like a fork in the road, and that means one or the other. So you have one choice on the left or one on the right. And I found that easier at first to kind of visualize it. And this is the way for me to stop me feeling that overwhelmed feeling. And this work, this coaching business that I've built in these past few years really came to be from one of the most difficult times in my life. And I'll never forget it. I was working at the time as an account executive for an amazing, fun, supportive company. I was killing it. And I had quite a large territory. What I would do is I would go into the accounts, all my businesses that I looked after, and help them with their business, the training, the sales, all the things. And it was really, really fun. I got to dress up, and I love that. And I love fancy. I love fancy. And I worked really long hours and did so much driving. I really love driving, and I still do. And while I was going to each account, I was thinking about, what I was going to do with that particular account. I'd listen to podcasts and, call my clients on the phone, and I'd be very busy while I was driving. But I loved it. I just loved it so much. And I love my clients and my coworkers. My boss was amazing. Like, you kind of get it, right? And during that time of loving all the things, I wasn't really feeling physically 100%. And I kind of ignored it most of the time. It was like a whisper. But when I could, I would kind of note the symptoms down, and because they were getting louder and kind of angrier. And there were new symptoms that would come up, and they'd last a little bit longer. And it was becoming to be such a nuisance to keep visiting the doctor and getting a prescription for my bladder infections. And I had more infections than I didn't have infections. I started to think that I had more going on than constant bladder infections, but I always felt like I would look into it deeper when I had more time. what's that saying? It says, if you don't take time for your health now, you will have to make time for it later, or it will decide when you have to make time for it, something like that. But nevertheless, I thought, when it comes time, I will really look into what's going on with me. I was going into businesses and feeling lightheaded and dizzy. And looking back now, I think it may have been a little anxiety over my health issues. So I felt kind of anxious. I really didn't understand what that was because I've never dealt with anxiety personally before. But this one particular day, I'll never forget, I had my national trainer with me visiting my accounts. And those of you who, who have a visit day with your manager or your training manager or whatever, and you're dragging them all through the city. It's kind of stressful. It was fun, but it was kind of stressful. And I remember I had her with me that one day, and we were visiting all the accounts. And I always looked forward to having her with me on the visits. This day, though, I wasn't feeling 100%. And my clients, when we'd both go there, they always felt so special. So the three of us were sitting in my account. So it was the business owner and then her and I. And we were sitting there in my client's office. So the two of them were chatting, they were talking, and I was sitting there feeling kind of the room spin. I felt lightheaded, and I got up to walk to the ladies' room, and I could feel myself kind of walking sideways. My client stood up and kind of grabbed my arm, and she said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm fine. I'm great. I'll be right back." And they must have thought I'd been drinking or something, because I'm telling you, I was literally staggering to the bathroom. I took time off work after that day. That episode really had me at my doctor right away, and he sent me to a specialist. I was referred to a urologist, a gyno-urologist, which is different, and an internist. And it took a while, as it does, especially nowadays, but I was diagnosed with a few issues. I learned that I had late-stage pelvic organ prolapse, a rectocele, which means my rectum is sitting in my vagina now. And I had IC, interstitial cystitis, which another term for that is painful bladder syndrome, and diverticulitis. So literally I was a wreck from the waist down. And both hips were bone on bone. So I needed hip replacements as well. And that was caused probably from arthritis, and probably that I'd been on prednisone a lot in my life from asthma when I was a kid. That could have been doing the kickboxing classes and all the things that I used to do as well. But all the things led me to surgery. I needed a hysterectomy first and a rectal repair because I literally had organs hanging out of my body. I think that a life-changing event can be one that may not sound like the biggest, but for me, in that moment, I knew my life changed. I was laying in the hospital bed recovering, and I was in a semi with a really nice lady in the other bed. And we were talking, and we both had the same surgery. And the surgeon came in, and he came to see me, and he said the surgery went well. So great, the surgery went well. And he said, "I'm prescribing antibiotics for 10 days, and you will be using a catheter now going forward." And I remember thinking, what? A catheter? I remember saying to him, a catheter like a bag on my leg until I'm done my antibiotics? And he said, "No, indefinitely." And then he walked out. This was never talked about, discussed, or even in my wheelhouse before my surgery. I mean, this is brand new for me. I thought you only got catheters when you had surgery. So this was huge. And I just laid there in bed thinking, oh my God. I just kept thinking, I kept looking at this ugly bag around my leg with pee in it and thought, how will I go swimming or in the hot tub with this? Like, what will Bob think? Bob's my partner, my spouse. Could anything like literally be unsexier than wearing a catheter? Now I have to rely completely, like, I'm going to have to rely completely on my personality now. So it wasn't until 3 months after my surgery that a nurse told me I don't have to continually wear the bag. I mean, that was never discussed either. So this was all new for me, and I could actually learn to do an in and out catheter. I didn't even know what that meant at the time. So I'd never heard of that before. The learning on how to find my urethra to use it is another story in itself. I started to learn how to catheterize, and there was a lot, I'm telling you, there was a lot of swearing, lots of crying, and a ton of fails. Sometimes it would even take me like an hour and a half to do it, to find it. But that's what happens when there is a skill that we are forced to learn. And that's what the skill at hand was for me. And I know now that was the big aha for me in my life. I could stay on the couch, watch TV, eat whatever I wanted, complain, but there was only really one option for me. I looked at it like, that's one in the road. What's the other road offering? And I suppose at that time, laying on the couch was getting old quick. I knew when I went for a follow-up to my urologist's office, and he said, "You are doing remarkably well for someone that has been through what you've been through." And many of my patients really don't want to do the protocols. They kind of feel defeated. And it was almost like a great big explosion went off in my head. And I thought I really wanted to grab every one of them, of his patients, and help them. Taking the road that kept me off the couch was hard, but I didn't want to roll over and play dead yet. I kept asking myself questions that used to keep me on the couch, like, why me? How am I supposed to live like this? It made me so mad. And I suppose there's a process there too, right? I heard a podcast by Brooke Castillo, and she had talked about asking better questions to yourself. Questions like, what would get me thinking about, how I would rather do things, than questions that would keep me there where I was. And one thing led to another before I knew it. I was off the couch. I was moving and stretching and building that skill with the catheter. And then I enrolled in a coaching certification course and got myself my own coach sessions. So I had a coach and practiced a new way, almost like a new perspective and a way to build my skills. This was to help me at first. I wasn't thinking at all to be a coach at first. I just wanted the tools. And one of my first questions was, why am I refusing to accept this reality? It helped because I started to ask deeper questions that would give me better answers. And what I mean by that is that if we ask ourselves questions that are rhetorical, we will not get creative answers. It will keep us where we are. And because I started asking deeper questions that would give me better answers, I noticed that choice started to present itself. I was someone who never thought I had choice. I felt like I was in a ball, and when I was one of those little balls in the pinball machines, just kind of responding to what people did and said and thought about me. And the curveballs life threw at me, I just really was trying to keep my head above water, really. And, this was even before all of my health stuff started. I was a people pleaser. I really just wanted people to like me, to accept me. I was always hustling. I was always trying to keep my head above water. And it really was that time in my life that gave me the personal growth that I couldn't even see that I would be able to do later. And the hope really was that I could thrive and create and get myself out of that pinball machine. So I was thinking even new things that could take me to a whole brand new place than I've ever been. I went back and got my master's certification in life and empowerment coaching because my mission became bigger than it ever was before. I'm going to make sure everybody I get my hands on will know they can change what they don't like, and they can get clarity and have a new life. And they are one choice away, and that choice is making a decision, and that's where it all starts. Don't get me wrong, it felt like a long road at the time. And when I look at it from where I was and where I wanted to be, the daily grind felt too much and the process was tedious at times. But here's the thing, I found that the magic is in the becoming. And the reason why this is that after the decision, the planning and the follow through, this is where you build the trust in yourself. It's the highest form of self-respect I found when you are challenging yourself and you do it anyway. And I didn't feel like doing the thing. It helped me build an enormous sense of self-care for what I wanted for myself for the future. And that's what we don't want to forget. What is it that you want? Plan it. And as you're doing the things that you're planning for yourself, because of what you want for your future, this is where the trust comes in. This is where you have your own back. This is where the magic is. It's who you're becoming. And what really came out of this for me in my life is a career that is dedicated to serving. And that actually is one of my top values. And serving in a way that empowers people, that really offers hope and how-tos when life seems impossible. It's not impossible. It's I'm possible. To summarize the lesson here and give you something to try to practice right away for today is this. Ask yourself questions with only curiosity and fascination and with wonder and without judgment. So ask yourself questions that will lead to an answer that will help you trust yourself and not beat yourself up. For me, one of my questions was, how can I become an expert at catheterizing without a big mirror and my legs spread wide open on the floor? And our brains go to task to answer us when we ask those questions. So instead of asking, why do I have all of this bladder stuff and my sister's never had a bladder infection in her life? That was one of the questions I used to ask. That is not going to help me get to where I want to go. It's not going to give me empowerment. It's going to keep me stuck where I am. And so some very common questions that my clients present with sound like this. Why can't I lose weight? Instead, ask this. How can I lose weight and have fun doing it? Why will I just not get to that gym? Why can I just not go to the gym? Instead, ask this. What results do I want to see on my arms at the gym? What machines will likely give me those? And how many times per week should I go? The reason why the quality of questions change the outcome is because your brain literally goes to task to prove what you're thinking. Let your brain get busy answering the questions, and that will get you into action. When we are in action, our anxiety levels change. It really alleviates any type of tension or angst or anxiety that we're feeling if we're in action. Our feeling of boredom changes too, and self-trust becomes really strong. I learned from Brooke Castillo the impact of asking questions with only curiosity though, and fascination instead of judgment. It really works, my friends. So that's enough for the first session. I hope you enjoyed it, and it is my pleasure to be here with all of you and begin this process in what I teach in my coaching practice. And until next week, talk soon, take good care, and bye for now.
Hello, and thank you for taking the time to listen to the Good to Great Life Coaching Podcast with Jill Farron. If you like this podcast, please take the time to like and subscribe, and feel free to leave any comments and look below for the contact information if you would like to connect with Jill directly. Just a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast is not a substitute for professional care. This podcast is provided with the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you are looking for help in your journey, it is important that you seek out a qualified practitioner. If you would like to work with Jill for her guidance, please email her at jill@jillfarron.com to book a discovery call. That's Jill, Jill, at jillfarron.com, JILLFARREN.com. Have a wonderful day, evening or night, depending on when you catch this.